Christmas is upon us, and a good question is, how do we best spend the Christmas season? And a very good approach to that is doing what we always do when a new child arrives. Our big goal is happiness in this life and heaven in the next. To achieve this, we need to stay close to God throughout each day. But how do we do that while living in the real world with all of its challenges and distractions? Growing our interior life through Christian mental prayer is the answer. This podcast mines the riches of the greatest spiritual tradition on earth so we can grow in holiness together. I'm Steve Smith. Thank you for joining me for Pearls of the Interior Life. Welcome to this episode of Pearls of the Interior Life. Thank you for making this time for the Lord. As always, very good to be a part of that with you. This is a very just kind of short, sweet, to the point episode looking at Christmas. We're just a few days away from it. And the question of how do we best spend Christmas season, especially those 8 days following Christmas Day, that octave of Christmas. And we're just going to look at a very simple approach to that. So, leading up to this, during Advent, we've been looking at receiving that best of Christmas presents, the Christmas gift that God desires for you and for me, for all of us, and that way that He is born new in the world by creating something new in us. And we looked at the very appropriate way of approaching that is by getting rid of the noise, getting rid of the clutter, especially in the crazy world that we're in now. And don't need to dwell on any of those details here now, but finding silence, because that's how this Christmas gift arrives. It's not delivered by Amazon. It's not opened through wrapping and boxes. It arrives in the silence of our hearts. It is opened through prayer. So it is very appropriate that we carry that through and into Christmas and into the new year beyond, to be sure, but especially at Christmas time. And so how does that play out? For many people, that time between Christmas and New Year's, you don't have your normal patterns. A lot of people have off from work, or it just seems a little bit quieter. Often there's still kind of a very festive atmosphere. One very good approach is look at it as when any newborn arrives. And what is that? Well, you probably experienced it yourself, or even if not, you can certainly imagine everything changes. Everything changes. All the usual routines go out the window. I remember when we came home with our first child or daughter, Annalise, and you walk through the door and you have the baby in a baby carrier, usually a car seat, and down she goes, and then you just kind of pause. All right, what do we do now? You know, we left with just the two of us and baby in tow in that very convenient baby carrier of the womb. Now we're back, and there are three separate humans in this house, independent, autonomous. What happens now? And everything now revolves around the child. All the old patterns and routines go out the door. You know, going out to dinner? No. Work patterns, being late at the office, for most people, that goes out the door as well. Certainly that's why we have, in many places, maternity and paternity leave. All of the other kind of social agenda that we have, getting together with friends or going out to exercise, whatever it might be, all of that mostly gets pushed aside. And yeah, maybe not perfectly, but quite a bit. The old patterns go out, and what replaces it? What replaces these old patterns? Well, the child, of course, and that is now the focus, and especially early on. What do? You just kind of focus on the little one. Everything is there on that new baby, and so may that be a model for us at Christmas. Christ has arrived, and may we especially spend that next week, that octave of Christmas, focused on the new child that has arrived, in whatever way that may be. And we'll have follow-ups in the emails on some suggestions from the spiritual masters, from the mystics, on ways for that to play out. But as we start off at the beginning, the Christmas gift that God desires for us, it arrives mystically, it arrives spiritually, it is opened in mysticism. It is opened through prayer, through spending time with the Lord. And we may not know what it is immediately in that week after Christmas, who's to say exactly how that plays out. God's timing is always perfect, but it is certainly absolutely the right time to continue this time in silence, especially focused on the Christ child. And what does that mean? What does that tell us about God? What does that tell us about our relationship with God? And then we let God take it from there. With that, we wish you a very blessed Christmas, a very blessed Christmas season, and a time of some different patterns, a time of continuing that silence to contemplate on the Christ child and what that child means specifically to you in your life. And I look forward to being with you again.